Okay, boys, listen the fuck up. This is episode 4. Episode 4, Nick.
Episode 4. And episode 4. For episode 4, wait, where are we at, Ray? Where are we at on the schedule? What are the big things that have happened?
It's the playoffs, man. The
Playoffs. Jim Bora would be proud of us. We are in the playoffs. So now the first 7 picks are cemented. We know the order.
Picks are cemented.
We know that you are picking 1 and 2.
1 and 2. I think Mike is picking 3. Kevin, I think, has Stick's pick, which is the 4th pick. And then you have the 5th pick, which was my original pick
Your original pick. Thank you for sucking.
Right. Yeah, no problem. No problem. 6th, I think, is Shane.
I don't have the latest. I do not have the latest.
Yeah, I think 6th
it up. Hold on.
And 7th is Mike, maybe. No, Mike's is Mike is 3rd.
Shane is 7.
Yeah. Shane is 7. Who's 6?
6 is Stin.
Stin. Oh man. Crazy.
Stin, who called himself the Infirmary.
No. Stin is Portchester Whooping Cranes.
Oh, it's Stick called himself the Infirmary. Yeah. I get them mixed up. Portchester Whooping Cranes, which call back to PCU. Great movie. Great movie. You remember that movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fine film.
We're going to start talking about the playoffs. And before we start, we're going to go all the way back and talk about the original veteran draft where we were not draft auction, right? We're bidding on people. And I got to tell you, we could take a vote on this and maybe Dave will go and put a poll up. But when we finished the auction, I would have picked you to finish last. I literally would have picked you to finish dead last. And then you started like the first 3 weeks, like high score and like just were, but because of your strategy and your you didn't spend a ton of money. You had a lot of really good players, but it seemed like you had Kyler Murray. You had it didn't look like you had great players, but fuck, man, I was wrong. And I'm pretty sure I can't be the only one that thought that. And if they're being honest, I guarantee everybody thought when we got done with that, like, what did this guy just do? He's saved like $200 of the $500, and he's gonna finish like in the bottom 3. I mean, probably bottom 3. That was really my thought, was bottom 3. And now guess what? You lost by 0.22 points or whatever, a quarter of a point, right? So from having a bye in the first round to now you're playing, man. You are literally playing for your life, first round of the playoffs.
And it's tough, right? And so if I have any regrets, it's that I went against some of my strategy. So I have low dollar players. And here's the funny thing. We go back to the draft. I was so excited about the players that I got for the dollar amounts that I got in the draft. It's funny that you thought that I was such a fool and I was going to finish last. I thought that everybody else was such a fool and they wasted their money. And I was so happy.
Oh, I started seeing the players towards the end. You're picking up players and there's nobody with money to bid on them. And I was just like, and then I had people that I still wanted out there. And I'm like, I can't nominate him because he can just run the price up on me. Raheem Mostert. Just, hey, here you go.
Let's run it, baby.
Way overpay. And it worked, man. It worked. It absolutely worked. I wanted to hate you. I wanted to come on here and be like, Nick, you're just an asshole. But guess what, man? Your arrogance paid off. You knew what you needed to do, and you had a great strategy right off the bat.
Hey, it worked out. It worked out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. And look, I was a little ahead of schedule. I was really not looking at this year as the year I was going to be pretty good. There were some risks in there. Terry McLaurin was a big risk. Robert Woods was a big risk. It's funny enough, Robert Woods is 28 years old. He's the elder statesman on my team.
Right.
My whole strategy was I wanted to go young. I wanted to go inexpensive. Look, Ryan Tannehill, there's a reason I got him for $6. Nobody thought he'd be any good. He has far outplayed that contract.
I had planned to walk away with Ryan Tannehill. You beat me out for Ryan Tannehill just because I literally ran out. I mean, I ran out of money that I felt like I could spend. And I had a $6 number in my mind for Ryan Tannehill, and when I did 6, it said somebody had already got it, and I couldn't. Looking at how I had to break it down, knowing what it was. I'm pretty new. I was new to this dynasty type where I'm used to where leagues where we kept like 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 players, but like never the full dynasty. And with IDPs, it throws you off a little bit, and you kind of lose track of your money. And you definitely had a solid plan. But with that, right, you are playing for your life right now.
And here's the thing, right? I wish I would have done and would have heeded my own advice. And my advice always is, you got your stud players. Do not sub out your stud players based on matchups. And I did that with Jamal Adams because I thought, okay, the Seahawks are playing the Giants. Colt McCoy is starting for the Giants. There's no way they're going to be able to move the ball. Jamal Adams isn't going to score any points. I'm going to go with Cameron Curl. I know I'm going to get 12 to 15 points with Cameron Curl. Well, I got 15 points out of him, except Jamal Adams scored 22, extra 7 points. I would have had a 6-point victory. So right. I didn't heed my own advice.
It's hard.
I played the matchup.
That's it. And I think you even told me one time, hindsight's 2020 in fantasy football. You look back, you always can figure out a way that you could have won. And I'm the leader of worst performing picking. I always overthink it. My efficiency was like 82%. I overthink every move. I think, maybe I'll just try this one, And I kind of had fun with it towards the end, because it didn't matter for me. It really didn't matter who I put on what. It was all going to be about whatever points my whole team put up anyway. But so you started off super hot. You were just absolutely raking in the points. And then you had a little bit of a little dip, and then you kind of had
some injuries.
Weeks. And yeah, right. And then in your bye weeks and stuff like that. And you kind of dipped down a little towards the end and you're up, but you were consistent all across. I mean, you had some high peaks, but you very rarely had lows. And you're rolling in against Tom in Old and Wise, who's had a solid season, man. He kind of has been the under the radar one who just keeps pounding away. But
absolutely, he has got
a matchup.
You could say, look, he had Christian McCaffrey. He paid so much for Christian McCaffrey, and when McCaffrey goes down, you're like, there's no way this guy goes. And he kept winning. And there's no way this guy can keep winning. But he kept winning, and he's got a winning formula. His winning formula right now is that Minnesota Vikings offense.
How in the Minnesota is a sucky team, but that's what I'm saying. If Minnesota's offense wasn't playing so well, and Justin Jefferson, holy, what a pick, right?
Yeah.
200. He's got like 211 points. He's like one of the top. He's probably a top 5 wide receiver. I haven't really looked, but he's got to be. I mean, you got Tyreek, you got Nook, you got Adams, and DK, and then he's got to be right there. And then Tyler Lockett,
he's up there. So yeah, let's pull this up. The highest scoring wide receivers. But the funny thing is we're going to pull up all the wide receivers. This is a rookie wide receiver doing this, scoring these points. It's insane. Justin Jefferson is number 7 overall. So here's the deal with Tom, right? He's got Justin Jefferson 7th overall in score. 8th overall is Tyler Lockett, who he's got.
Yes.
And then 9th overall is Adam Thielen, who he's got. And it's not like look, he's paying $30 for Tyler Lockett, which is a fair amount. And he's paying $71 for Adam Thielen, which is a fair amount.
He's lucky that the Vikings don't have a bye week this week, because whoever caught him on the bye week got lucky, because he was super consistent and he didn't have those players, because he has Kirk Cousins too, right? So
he's got Kirk Cousins too. Yeah. And so they're playing Tampa Bay this weekend. I don't know if Tampa Bay's got the defense to shut him down.
I would have said before that Tampa Bay had the defense to stop him. And then last week, Tampa Bay didn't look great. They
didn't look great. But here's the thing.
They just had a bye week. They're rebounding back. Let's see.
Well, so we talk about these 3 wide receivers, right? Yep. Well, guess what? The 17th overall scoring wide receiver, that's Cooper Kupp. That's Tom's. The 18th overall scoring wide receiver, that's Robbie Anderson. That's Tom's. Tom has killed it. So he's got 5 in the top 18.
That's just crazy.
And that's consistency, man. That's how you win. That's how you survive Christian McCaffrey going down.
Yeah, I mean,
And
and
if
he did, right? So a little backstory, just because I know one of the players in there. He tried like hell to pull off a trade when McCaffrey went down with Travis Stick in the infirmary for Dalvin Cook, and they just they just couldn't make it work. But can you imagine if he was just loaded with Vikings and he could
it's just the Vikings.
I mean, you were playing the Minnesota Vikings. This is what you're doing, right? Like it would have been crazy. It would have been crazy to think.
And like you said, like the Vikings, you don't think of the Vikings as a dynamic offense, but
yes, and you know what? The crazy thing is, it's not like they are not one of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL. I mean, they're up there, but they're not to be producing this many points. But their points are distributed to like Thielen, Jefferson, and Cook, and I mean that's it. Like,
yeah, do not own anybody else on that team. If you own any other player on that team, you are screwed.
Right. Yeah, and he gets lucky here and there with Cousins. Cousins has been decent. Like most other leagues, you're probably not trotting out Cousins in a 8-team league or a 10-team league, but in a 12-team league that could possibly have 2 starting quarterbacks, you're trotting out Cousins, and
Yeah,
he's been all right.
Cousins has been all right. Cousins has been consistent. He's been all right. There was one week in there where he scored negative 1.48 points.
Oh, yeah.
But as long as he's not doing that, you're fine.
Yeah. So your matchup this week, I mean, you guys are going head to head, and when you really look at it, it's close. I mean, you have the advantage for overall points. Like you scored more points on the season.
Yeah.
But if the Vikings have a good week, it's going to be
and that's it. If the Vikings have a good week, and he's got a pretty good team. There's a guy that he's got on his team that you may not have ever heard of. Is a guy named Zach Cunningham.
No, I tried to get Zach Cunningham from him all year long, pushing for Zach Cunningham. And he made me an offer one time, and I could have got Robbie Anderson and Zach Cunningham. I could have taken one of his 18th receiver, and I didn't bite the bullet. The one trade I didn't make. The one trade
that was $2. By the way, that was $2 for the salary.
Yeah, the one trade I didn't make.
And the salary matters on that when they score high points. And yeah, Zach Cunningham is a solo tackle machine. What is if you've got a linebacker, and there is the surest way to get good points out of your linebacker is solo tackles.
It's tackles. We're not giving away a trade secret here. You look at tackles, because if they're a tackling machine, they're going to get the occasional sack here and there. They're going to get the occasional tackle for loss. They put up points. They're going to make a fumble here and there. Maybe they knock down a pass, but if they're tackling, they're at the ball. They're in the action, right? So
it's gravy if they're tackling. So right now, I've submitted my lineup for this week. Right now, I am favored by a marathon, 26.2 points over Tom. But this could swing wildly either way. The first time I played Tom, I beat him. Kind of handily, but it was the Tyler Lockett game when Tyler Lockett scored like 52 points.
Yes, he put it
right
up there. Tyler Lockett.
And then the second time I played
was like the top scoring player, the top single player score of the thing. I mean, I think Tyreek Hill eventually broke that, but
Tyreek Hill went over it. And then the second time I played Tom, he kicked my ass pretty good. So this is a grudge match, and we're the only game this week. All eyes are on us.
Which maybe we'll have a conversation in the offseason about. With the COVID, nobody knew what was going to happen. You just kind of pushed through to get something going. I mean, we did the best we could, and it's been great. I mean, it's been a great league. We've talked about that in the past. It's been great. Maybe we expand the playoffs to a 6-team. I've kind of pushed for that, and we'll see what it comes at the end of the season. But I really think we should do the 3 winners, the top 2 overall records, and then the highest points, and let that sneak in there, and we can go from there, right?
Maybe that. It worked this year. There's 5 teams that are better than everybody else, and it's pretty
true.
clear.
The top 5 teams are clear. It's clear. There's a gap between 5 and 6. A pretty good gap between 5 and 6.
Correct.
Not necessarily but point scoring wise, there's a big gap between 5 and 6, I think. And so let's just say now, you win this playoff game, you got Bosk sitting there who is the lowest scoring of all the playoff teams, but he is
But he's
also
the number one seed.
overall seed. The number one overall seed. Best record, just sitting right up there, just like I'm the boss. And we joke about his record and how he went through my division. I sucked. Gabe sucked. Travis, for the most part, sucked, but put a pretty good run on at the end. If there would have been a little longer, maybe more doubled up matches or something if he'd hit something right. But, you know, he fought through injuries and he put a little effort in at the end there and got close, bud. So Bosk is sitting there and we see him with the lowest points. But what's his record against the other 4 playoff teams?
He's undefeated, baby. Undefeated. He's got no fear.
Right.
He's got those skins on his wall back in his bedroom. He has got no fear of any of these playoff teams.
Right. So he beat like Red Leader by 15. He beat Dave by 5. He beat you by like 8 or 9 points. I mean, they weren't blowouts. They were right there. One decision change could have won the game either way, you know, for everybody. So he's not far and above. He's made moves he lost Kittle. He made the Kelsey trade like we talked in, you know, episode 2. So he's kept himself in there. He's been really consistent. He hasn't had the highs. He hasn't had the lows. He's been really consistent in that low 200s, you know, 210, 220 range.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take you guys fucking up. You guys not putting the right lineup in for him to be able to get there. I mean, you guys have better potential points. You guys, whoever comes out, Tom, you were Tom, you probably got the easier path because Dave and Rob are going to go squaring off next week against each other to get to the championship. And
Rob, that's going to be a game. That's going to be a game.
Did you finish second overall in points, or who finished? Dave finished first overall in points, right?
No, Rob did.
Rob ended up
pretty sure Rob did.
So I think it's number 1 and number 2 in points going against each other right off the bat here. And damn, man, like they're going to go at it. And that's going to be a battle.
No, it was Dave. Dave did score first overall. Rob scored second overall. But so Dave scored 3,001 points. Rob scored 2,990. 10 points separate them.
10 points. And then you're right there too. So
I mean, but I'm at 2840. I'm 150 points behind those guys. Yeah. I had a couple of lousy weeks that really dragged me down.
You had a little dip, a little lag, but yeah. So that matchup, man, they both are rocking some great lineups. Both of them have put up over 300 point scores in a week. I think Rob did one week, top score in the league, and then Dave came back and put up 300 points the very next week. I mean, so it's the battle of the 300 club, man. Like they might as well be bowling, not playing fantasy football. Like
totally,
they can do that, right? There is one of them, like you talked about. When you have your studs, you start them. When you have your studs, you start them. But which one of them is going to get cute and blow this?
Well, and in the cute, so look, you look at my team, and we've talked about my team with the wide receivers. I've got a good stable of wide receivers. The problem with having as many wide receivers as I've got is there's always going to be one wide receiver that doesn't score as well as somebody on my bench. It's going to happen every week.
And you can't beat yourself up for it. You have to know it is going to happen. It's a great problem to have. Like any one of your receivers is better than any starting receiver. Like, I mean, I got Cortland Sutton, who hopefully comes back next year. And we got Juju, who's came on and finally started doing something. But it's not about me. It's about the playoffs. I'm down here picking first.
No, it's okay. We like to talk on this. And so me and Tom this week, we'll see, Tom's team. So Tom starts 2 defensive linemen from the Eagles, and he starts 3 Vikings. It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work, and it does.
Wait a minute. The Eagles are on defense the second most in the league behind the Cowboys, probably. Well, the Jets. I mean, they're a top 5 defensive plays team. So maybe it's a strategy. You pick that shitty team. They're constantly going to be on defense, gives them more opportunity. I mean,
right?
look at that Cowboys. Oh man, your last game. We were all watching the chat for like the last 10 minutes of the game. For the whole
See,
fourth quarter, you're down by 0.22 points, and you can't get a half tackle, an
can't get a
assist,
half a tackle.
batted
Can't get
down ball.
anything to happen.
Oh
Every
man,
time, and then every time they would run to the right to him, and I'm like, oh God, just fucking dive, do something, make a
yeah, just
tackle.
touch the guy, give it a chance, man. Oh, it's gonna be crazy. I am looking forward to this week. It's a big game. We got the Pro Bowl that's going on as well. I mean, for the rest of us that aren't making the playoffs, I guess we get to try to focus
Look,
on.
even we're contributing to the Pro Bowls, but I've got a question for you on the Pro Bowl. So it's come up, and there's been a couple of things. What is your interpretation of who deserves to go to the Pro Bowl?
So
In
we
the
originally
question,
rolled
the
that.
question is like Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey, who have not been top scoring players. Now, when they're healthy, we know that they're good starters to have, but they didn't earn the Pro Bowl.
I agree. I mean, I'm there with you. I really feel like we need to clarify a little bit on that. We went with like the top two starters at each position to build your original, so everybody had a starting lineup, and then we kind of left it free and open to pick. But I think that there was an intent that it should be something that kind of follows the guidelines of a regular Pro Bowl. Like a guy should have played half the season. Like, I mean, if we have, maybe 7-8 weeks, I get it. I would want to start McCaffrey. I mean, if I had him, I'd want to be playing him and Austin Eckler. But did they really earn a Pro Bowl spot this year? I mean, maybe it's like in the NFL. You've got a guy who's been a consistent Pro Bowler, but he is hurt and he misses 12 games and comes back for the last 4. Probably not going to the Pro Bowl. So
Yeah.
I would say I don't feel like I feel like we should have that they should have had to play 8 games. That's my opinion. We've kind of had some discussions with the rules committee, and I think we're going to try to have a little quick chat after this and really decide it. I mean, we came up with the Pro Bowl last minute. Dave brought up an idea and we ran with it, and we kind of got it going. And it's going to be a fun little thing. But I do think we need to put a little clarification in there that there should be an eligibility requirement for how many.
It's a fun idea.
Yeah.
Pro Bowl's a fun
like you
idea,
said,
but
your picks don't necessarily have to be the highest scoring ones, but they need to at least have played like majority of the season, I think.
yeah.
So who was
Yeah,
your pick? Who's your pick? And I'm not going to ask you your pick in your game. Obviously, you should pick yourself, and I get that. But so Dave next week and Rob, what are you thinking? Which way are you leaning there?
Ooh, and that is a tough choice because they've been such high scoring teams. They've both been such high scoring teams. So it's really kind of tough to choose and decide who's going to go there. I mean, look, if Austin Eckler is back in form and he's got this week and then he's got next week. So really that buy is
it's a huge buy.
It's a huge buy. It's a huge buy in for that regard, because now you can see, okay, is this guy really back? And if he comes back and he's scoring like that, then I mean, Rob has a huge advantage there. But
right.
Where Rob does not have an advantage, and I'm just going to go over to his roster real quick, where he does not have an advantage, and really Antonio Gibson getting hurts Dave.
It hurts. That hurts.
It hurts Dave. So now all of a sudden his running backs. And if Christian McCaffrey's back, well, it's Mike Davis that he's been counting on for a lot of the season. Well, shoot, right. He's got no value all of a sudden. So now what's Dave going to do? And all of a sudden he's got holes at the running back position, but he's got Hopkins, he's got Devontae Adams, he's got Calvin Ridley. You can't tell me a better 3 wide receivers than that on any team.
No, I mean, that's a 3-pack right there. And the one thing that Dave has going for him, and it doesn't sound like a ton, but Will Fuller, he ain't playing in the playoffs.
Will Fuller ain't playing in the playoffs. So now you got A.J. Brown, you got Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's a stud. A.J. Brown's a stud. And you got Allen Robinson, who, for all the problems.
Stud, but Tennessee, I mean, Tennessee doesn't have they don't have an easy road. They don't have a hard road, but they don't have an easy road.
With
They're
Tennessee,
going to be about matchups.
the thing with Tennessee is you kind of never know whether AJ Brown's going to have like 12 points or is he going to have 40 points? What's he going to do this game?
Is Derrick Henry going to run for 212 yards and 3 scores and the wide receivers are just going to be left out? Or, I mean, what's it going to be? If Derrick Henry goes wild, that takes away from AJ Brown.
You're going to see a real key. Okay, so you know who a guy named Kiki Kuti is?
Yes, Kiki Kuti or whatever. I think he's stepped it up, man. He's been like the hot commodity on.
Right, and so he scored a couple of points in the previous games, but this game without Will Fuller, 8 catches, 141 yards. So, no touchdowns yet. Well, he scored 1 touchdown this season, but no touch. We'll see what he's got for touchdowns. But look, Rob's got options, and they're hot at the right time options. I don't see. Rob can make things work with his wide receivers, but I think Dave might be in real trouble with his running backs.
Did we lose Ray?
Did I freeze or did Ray freeze?
You're clear. I'm not seeing Ray currently.
Yeah, Ray's frozen right now. Uh-oh, technical difficulties. Ignore those.
Technical difficulties. Ignore the man behind the curtain. But I agree with you. I do have some major issues at running back, and I'm just gonna step in here for Ray here for a second. But I do have a couple of little sneaky assets here in DeAndre Swift and J.K. Dobbins. And I think
J.K. Dobbins could be huge for you. There he is back.
Hey, Ray's back.
I lost you guys. I kept talking because I thought Nick was frozen.
No. Oh no.
Oh, all right. Way to jump in.
I will hide behind the curtain again.
No. Hold on. We need you're right here. We got you right now. You make your pick. Who's winning this week, Tom or Nick?
Tom or Nick? I think I have to go Nick. However, it is going to be freaking close, especially if McCaffrey's back. If McCaffrey's back, that guy can pop off 45 points like it's nothing. And
the receptions.
that is going to be trouble for you, Nick.
It's the receptions, man.
It is.
It's the receptions. He's such a PPR monster. It scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, but then you have we're going to go back to the next matchup like we're talking about. When it comes to Dave and Rob, Austin Eckler is, I'm not going to say the poor man's McCaffrey, but he is the 2/3 model, right? Like he came back, right? He came back and he had like 11 receptions. Like 11 receptions. Right. That's 11 points right there.
Yep.
11 points right there, plus whatever yardage you get off it. It's players who get receptions. And to me, and my team with the strong wide receiver core that I've got, my wide receivers are way more consistent than my running backs are, just because I can count on them to get 5 to 8 passes thrown to them every game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they get the targets and they bring them in, man. While I was cut out there, I went ahead and went through my spiel. I made my picks, and I'm going to go ahead and say it right now.
So your pick between me and Tom this week.
I'm picking you.
Is that the kiss of death?
I don't even think it's going to be that close. I think you're going to win by 20 or more points. When I'm breaking down the matchups, I feel like you're going to win by about 20 points. And then that puts you next week against Bosk. And I think it's going to be a low scoring slug. When I look through, you should likely win. You should really win, and you will be favored. But when you look at the matchups Bosk has next week, not this week, but the following week, he actually has some matchups that are pretty favorable for his players. And I think maybe he pops off and maybe he breaks his high score. And I think it's going to come down to the wire. and I want to pick you, but I gotta try to make this happen. I need him to get to the championship game. I don't give a shit what happens when he gets there. I just want his first. That's
You
all.
want that first round
So
pick.
I'm gonna throw it out into the world. Boston's gonna take you down in the semifinals.
All right. I love it, man. Like, it's like Jimmy the Greek, right? It's clearly he's got money riding on things, and he's not even going to hide it.
And Rob's gonna beat Dave, and Rob's gonna win the championship.
Ooh.
That's it. Rob's gonna beat Dave.
Big
Dave,
predictions.
Wow.
I'm sorry, but like you lost Gibson, and I really feel like that's gonna hurt you. And we were making a mention of this earlier. I think Mike Davis isn't going to be able to be a player for you because McCaffrey's going to be back. Maybe he gets some mop-up yards here and there. I can't trust. Well, maybe the Bears will just let Dave Montgomery actually be Dave Montgomery, but they
See,
suck
that's
so bad. I don't think so.
We got 2 years of sample size that says no.
Hey now.
Right.
I have 3 years ahead of that said he was freaking amazing in college at least, but
We're not.
the man
This
cannot
judgment
get
is
tech-
not on,
Oh,
on Montgomery.
it's absolutely it's on the Bears and Nagy.
Yeah.
But here's the deal with Monty, right? He's had 20+ games the last 2 weeks, and he has a very favorable schedule throughout the playoffs.
They do have a favorable schedule.
I have him in multiple leagues going into the playoffs, and I'm feeling pretty darn good about it.
I think he's not going to be your weak link. I just think
Yeah.
that some of the key players you've had throughout the season aren't going to be there.
So what I was talking with Nick about while you were frozen there, I do have a couple of secret players here in Swift if he can come back from concussion, and J.K. Dobbins, who is still sitting on my taxi squad.
Right.
And if I get J.K. Dobbins and the way he looked last night, if he does something like that again and gets maybe a few more carries, he could be pretty darn good for me. So it's going to be a darn good game either way.
Right. And I would go back and rewind. If we were back on this trade episode, I would say that J.K. Dobbins, I didn't want to lose Swift, but I got what I needed out of Swift. I got the return I needed for him. And I got a good return on J.K. Dobbins, but he's the one that hurts me the most. He pains me the most because I should have been patient and I should have waited for Nick's offer because I think it might have been better.
The J.K. Dobbins, Dave getting J.K. Dobbins I was mad about that one.
Oh,
J.K. Dobbins, he's a good player.
I feel like and obviously eventually he's going to get the bulk share, but there are so many. Gus Edwards is good.
Yeah, Gus Edwards is good.
J.K. Dobbins is good. And guess what? Justice Hill is good. Justice Hill has looked good with them too. So, he's obviously four of four, right? And he'll play here and there. But and then Lamar Jackson, he just takes away too many goal line touches. I felt like for what the price I was getting in return, I needed to go ahead and make that move. And at the time, I still had Swift. I didn't expect the offer from Dave to come in and finally give me Sutton, which we'll see.
We'll see. Here's the thing. I went to the Fiesta Bowl last year with Ohio State against Clemson. Lots of good players on that field, right? Tons of good players. The one player that dominated the entire game, J.K. Dobbins. And then he got hurt. He hurt his ankle in the second or third quarter. And Ohio State couldn't do anything once he hurt his ankle. It was when he was healthy in that game against that defense with all those NFL players on it of Clemson, and he was smoking those dudes. And after I saw that, I was like, I need to get J.K. Dobbins in every league I'm in.
Absolutely. And I wish I would have. I really do wish I would have kept him. It was a move. I was trying to get a bunch of early round draft picks. I know where my weaknesses were. I know I got Saquon coming back, and I got CEH sitting there. And obviously, I would love to have another great back right in there, but I had to kind of figure out how I was going to spend money going forward in other places. So did you finalize? You got yourself going all the way? Winning the championship?
Me or Dave?
You.
Me? Oh, of course I'm going to win the championship. I mean,
yeah, absolutely, right?
Pushover, man. First of all, I got Tom this week. Tom's a joke wild card team. Let's not kid ourselves. Tom, you're a joke. All right, you've fluked. You've completely been a fluke. The Vikings are going to fall on a goddamn faces this week. Arians is going to take them out. Ironically, Tom, who's been all he wants is white players. He's going to be taken out by an Arians this week.
Racist.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So and then I've got Who's the Bosk, the lamest champion of all time. Like remember in the 90s when the Seattle Mariners would always like be really good and they'd win like 110 games and then they get to the playoffs and they'd suck, they'd shit the bed every year. That is Who's the Bosk. He is the regular season champion. That is all he is. He's a paper champion. It's ridiculous. It's terrible. COVID 2020 is going to rip through him. All right. There's not going to be enough toilet paper for when COVID 2020 gets done. And then I get to the championship game. And it really doesn't matter which bullshit team I play, Dave or Rob. All right. They're both flawed. They're both deeply flawed. They're both okay at best, passable at best. We just talked about Rob. We just talked about Dave's ugly warts. All right. He's either, and then his big secret is starting rookie running backs against me late in the season. They hit the rookie wall. Right. And then
if it wasn't for all the good players those guys' teams had, they would suck ass.
Oh, totally. They'd be terrible, man. They're getting picked up. Like everybody knows Detroit. Everybody knows Detroit has got the best offensive line in the NFL. And you know, fucking the only reason J.K. Dobbins is scoring any points is because COVID. And apparently he kept his nose clean. He didn't get any COVID. It's bullshit. And then Rob, all right, Rob. It's like whatever. Tyreek Hill and a bunch of nobodies. It's nothing. I'm not afraid of it.
Tyreek Hill can't even land a fucking backflip.
No, he can't. He goes 3/4 of the way on the backflip.
Just stop trying.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Golly.
Like, it's like me walking around my dick, talking about how I'm the world's longest guy. And it's like, well, compared to who? It's like, just because I'm showing it off doesn't make it so. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's ridiculous. So look, let's end it with this. Of course I'm winning them all. Of course I'm winning them all. Of course. It's not even a question of that. And then I got 2 first-round draft picks next year, and they're going to be good first-round draft picks. And Dave, you better get off your fucking ass next week, and you better be Rob so that my other first-round draft pick is a little bit juicier. All right? I don't need your bullshit.
Right. We're going to definitely have to do an episode once this season wraps up, and we're going to talk about the draft and the upcoming draft, and we'll talk about college players and what we saw through maybe the bowl season and stuff like that. But for now, it's about time we wrap up this episode. Good luck, man. I know it's going to be. As I said, I got you by 20. I got you by 20.
Right. We'll see next week whether my big mouth has gotten me into trouble. We'll see if karma is a real thing.
And we can't leave this off. We had to stop Dave from drafting an offensive lineman in the rookie draft last year. Do you remember that?
God. He wanted to get an offensive.
He wanted that offensive lineman. I was like, you can't get any points from there.
Come on, man. You cannot win without offensive linemen.
Well, you know what? You can tackle eligible play on Sunday that the Browns had.
That's true.
That's right. All right, guys. I'm out, man. Thanks for your time. It was fun. I'm glad I finally got to get on here and get a couple episodes in, and hopefully work calms down and life, had some loss go on there. Lost a grandparent. Got one that's not doing so well now, but guess what? She's lived a long life and can't be too sad about it. So,
hey, thoughts
thinking about me, man. Appreciate it, guys.
Sorry to
thoughts
hear
are
that,
with your grandparents, right? Let's all do that. Let's put a little love in the air for Ray's family.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.